Yo guys, what's going on? It is Dcroft here, back with the Week 6 matchup. We have the Steelers against the Seahawks this week on prime time. We are going out to Pittsburgh. Super exciting game. I remember going to Pittsburgh back at DK's rookie year. Super exciting game. That was actually, I think, the first touchdown pass DK ever caught in the NFL. So I'm super excited to be able to go back there. And the Steelers, really good defensive team. Offensively, they've looked a little bit slow. Big Ben's age is catching up to him. But I am super excited for this upcoming week's matchup between us and the Steelers. With that being said, though, the Seahawks actually had something just launched, super exciting, and it's going to be the Seahawks Sandbox. For anybody wondering what the Seahawks Sandbox is essentially they are going to be hosting over 50 video game tournaments during the NFL season, over 14 different video games. So if you guys are watching these videos week in and week out, check out those tournaments on Rival. Maybe you're not a big Madden person, but you like the Seahawks. You can sign up for all types of tournaments in this. There's going to be Call of Duty, there's going to be racing games, more first-person shooters, NHL, all those types of games are going to be on here. And if you guys do sign up and if you do win these tournaments, there's some really cool prizes that you can win with these tournaments. With that being said, the Week 6 guest I do have is JonBeast. Now, for anybody that doesn't know JonBeast, kind of an unknown from a lot of people in the competitive Madden community, 2 years ago. When I first came up and I started playing Madden, JonBeast wasn't, like a household name. Within the last year, though, JonBeast has had probably, you could say, the most success out of any Madden player. He has 3 Final Fours, and the first tournament this year, he did end up actually winning. So he is the current reigning Madden champion right now. He took down Clef the God. What was the score, John, of that game? I think it was I know you won by 7. I forget the exact score of that game, John. But with that being said, this is
24-17.
24-17. It's probably one of the actual better Madden games we have ever seen. That game was insane going back and forth the entire game. And John has actually had a ton of crazy Madden games that he has played in. Last year in Madden 2, I would say that he had, the signature moment of the year where he ended up upsetting Joke to a lot of people, to the point where that was kind of like that first big moment that he had in terms of the MCS and everything. But I actually got pretty fortunate. I got close with John throughout that entire tournament. John and I were actually playing a good amount throughout last year. And, to a lot of people, maybe on the outside, it looked like an upset. But for somebody that played JonBeast week in and week out, I wasn't thinking that that was an upset at all. John had looked so good defensively, and he beat a really good player quite convincingly earlier that day, too, and came back. With that being said, though, John, welcome. Let's get into the gameplay here, too, between the Seahawks and the Steelers for this upcoming week. And now, John, obviously, coming into the last year, Madden 21, your name wasn't really known by a ton of people. What exactly changed in Madden 20 or Madden 21, excuse me, where you became a household name within Madden?
Just be consistent. So I was in school,
Mm-hmm.
high school. So senior year, I just wanted to be consistent. So with COVID helped a lot because at home, being at home and doing schoolwork, it was really just helping me just focus on Madden more
Mm-hmm.
and more freeway time, or just playing Madden, just playing the game every day for 8 hours, 10 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
and just be consistent. It just really just helped me
Yeah, and then
get better at the game.
you had that really good run in the club championship last year. So for anybody that doesn't know, the big tournament last year was the club championship. And that tournament, JonBeast is currently the reigning Steelers club champion. And that's the tournament, when I talked to last year, that's the tournament. He ended up winning the Steelers club championship and then ended up making the Final Four of that tournament. And then later on in the year, the other big tournament last year was Madden Bowl, and he made the Final Four of that. So, John, how did all that success from last year within Madden kind of translate over to this year to the extent, now for the first tournament of this year, you're the champion of it?
Just I just figured out that I could do this for a long time. It's just it's a hobby for me. So
Mm-hmm.
in knowing the runs I made, I just wanted to lock in and just making more runs throughout for a long time. And that's what's really happened. This year's me winning lost my kickoff, beating Clef in the final, just now it's just I want I want to win more. I want to make more runs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really it.
Yeah, and so for talking about more runs that, all of us Madden players have this year, John has put himself in a great position to make that Madden Bowl. It is $1 million prize pool at the end of the NFL season. And John is in a really good position to qualify for that right now, winning that first tournament. If he makes just like probably one good more like run in a tournament this year, he's going to be in a position where he's going to be automatically qualified for that tournament. I'm still in a position, my first tournament, I didn't have the best first tournament, but we have a tournament coming up here not too long, and I feel pretty good right now. So hopefully I am able to make a good run in this upcoming tournament. Something to mention with the gameplay too. You guys did see that first play. I did have Russ in. We won't have Russ this week. He's still coming back from that finger injury that he sustained from Thursday night. Probably going to be at least 4 weeks, I think, before we end up seeing. So you guys are actually going to see Geno Smith and Madden. I haven't really used
4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6, yeah, around 4 to 6 weeks until Russ comes back. So we are gonna see Geno Smith. I'll use Geno Smith in Madden because I feel like creating it as similar as possible is always a cool experience for everybody that is watching. And then John, for you as the Steelers, what exactly like have the Steelers, being the club champion for the Steelers, what exactly like opportunities have come from that?
So a couple orgs has like hit me up about it for the Steelers. Nights they have hit me up. And so a lot of stuff has come like my way in total, like everything, just winning clubs.
Yeah, so what John's just talking about right now is the Pittsburgh Knights. They are affiliated with the Steelers too. So just having that connection right there. The Steelers are actually, the Seahawks are one of the best teams when it comes to, helping out the people that have been like playing Madden and everything. But the Steelers are right there with them. The Steelers have done so many cool things. They've had in-person events too. And they've had a really great experience with so many of their Madden players. Even the people that won before JonBeast, there was a player by the name of Deliverance, who was actually the 3-time club champion before JonBeast ended up beating him last year. Having that great relationship, there's been in-person events almost every single year for the Steelers, and it's been just like a super, super neat thing to be able to see teams just get more and more involved with this. And then, John, would you say that, because of that, you've been able to be a Steelers fan too, in a little ways, being that? Or I know a lot of people, they pick a path that they think is a little bit easier. Do you just think that, Steelers is just more of a team, you said, like, this is an easy path for me to, be able to win a club championship, and you're still, a bigger fan of another team?
I'm still a big fan of other team. Not a Patriots fan, but Steelers, like, also for the club, like, my stepbrother is the one that got me into Madden. And he's always been, like, a Steelers fan his whole life. Big time Steelers fan for my stepbrother. So, like, that was also a decision to, like, me talking to my stepbrother, he made me not like Steelers a little bit, but, like, after, like, over the course of, like, 2 years, I have a little love for them. But it will keep going through all the time.
Oh my goodness, I thought we were going to score there. That's a crazy play. I like Geno is going to be able to get off to a hot start here. I don't even know what the red zone were. I like this call. Oh, and we do have Russ in the game. I will say, I have to sub him in and out of every formation. So if you guys do accidentally see Russ in for a play, just know that for the majority of the game, Russ won't be in the game for. But John, this upcoming matchup between the Seahawks and the Steelers, two teams that, probably were hoping to be off of a little faster starts than they were this year. The Seahawks, kind of off to a slow start, and now we are without Russ, so we're trying to essentially just stay in that playoff hunt while Russ is out. So by the time Russ comes back, being able to be back to full strength. But I think for the Steelers, this is almost like the last dance for Big Ben. What do you think of like Big Ben so far, and obviously that injury to Juju?
First I want to go with the Big Ben. Like, what I seen, like, the injury with his elbow that he suffered like 2 years ago.
Yeah, that
has hurt him a lot.
That was actually against
the
Seahawks.
Because if you watch Steelers games, he does not take snaps under center. Like, it's almost hard for him. But that Juju injury, like, obviously people gonna talk about his TikToks, but like he's still a good football player, no matter what anyone says. That's a pick for Big Ben.
Ryan Neal right there.
Yeah.
It's very hard to play defense. We've talked about it a ton throughout this show. And this is actually a player, Ryan Neal, that I do hope gets a few more snaps. Last week against the Rams, Pete Carroll talked about it a little bit in terms of, running dime personnel wasn't really like a huge plan for us up against the Rams, especially the way they like to run the ball. But I am hoping going forward that we do get to see more of Ryan Neal. I'm personally a big PFF guy, a big analytic guy, and whenever Ryan Neal is on the field, it just seems like he is always having, positively produced play. So I am hoping to be able to see more of him. You guys see that I do use him in Madden. And part of that too is just he is very fast. Madden, you want to have the faster players on the team, and just because he is so fast, I do enjoy to use him. But John, going back to like a little bit more Madden stuff, when did you start to feel, like I was good enough to be able to like, start taking this like, full time and seriously? Because you were only in high school when you were making these types of runs.
So I would say like sophomore year of high school,
Mm-hmm.
like I knew I would like it was late of Madden 19.
Okay.
Late of Madden 19.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just playing regs and like do underground tournaments, which I actually won my first ever tournament at underground. So like that started everything. Then like I said earlier, like consistent. Then like
Mm-hmm.
then last year like was like I wanted to do this full time. I stopped. I was not gonna do it full time early in the year.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like I wanted to get into college and stuff, but I was then after for like a week thinking about it, I figured out that like I do it full time, and what happened just like I said, be consistent really.
Yeah, so when John refers to underground Madden tournaments, essentially what he means is, underground is just like not exactly, it's not like a major, so the major events are always held by EA, but an underground event is like an in-person event, and the one that he is talking about specifically is called a C4 event. And these C4 events are they get held in the Boston area, and there's a couple of like good Madden players that are always out there. There's like players like Vilma, Jaybird. Moneyman Michi is another one that's a notable player that is always in these tournaments. But essentially, these tournaments, granted, it's not winning any of these big tournaments. Winning these underground smaller tournaments are just such a huge thing for your confidence. And, having those smaller tournaments, whether it be, an in-person event like that, or whether it be, maybe you're like playing in like an online tournament, something like that. Having those events, I think, are just so crucial to like help boost your confidence and really just say like, wow, okay, I'm able to compete with these people. I'm able to take that next step and like compete with everybody else too.
Also, I want to go back to the Juju injury.
Mm-hmm.
Like, also big loss for the Steelers. Like, people are forgetting that like he did sign a 1-year contract this season, so like
Mm-hmm.
he was on a contract year basically to prove a year contract. I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's hurt, so we don't know like what would happen now.
Yeah,
So,
it's always unfortunate too when those players, that's a very common thing that we see amongst like everybody within the NFL, just taking those 1-year prove it deals. Juju was really looking for the ability to get that, bigger contract and that bigger payday, and having him, have that year out, he's almost in a position where he almost has to prove it again, and it's like a bigger obstacle for him now too, just because he has to come back from that injury, because the team isn't going to say, wow, okay, we want to give you this big payday now. Now, there was one exception to this, and it was Dak from last year. For anybody that remembers, Dak had that really bad ankle injury, and then he actually did end up getting that long-term extension after that, but I think Dak had already shown so much that...
I will also say because he was like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dak is a top 10 quarterback. MVP caliber when he's on it. So I would say that's a little bit different, but like with the receivers that the Steelers got with James Washington now, Deontay Johnson having a good season, Nick Claypool, it's gonna be hard for Juju to like fit in this roster now. I would say
Jamal
Adams.
There we go, Jamal. Go. For 6? This is what we need to see from the Seahawks defense this upcoming week. Jamal Adams with the pick 6 right here. But yeah, no, what John says is another great point. I think John actually said something that, I think was like really smart that he alluded to. was the fact that, the Steelers, granted, having Juju as a loss is a pretty big loss for them. They have such great depth at receivers with Deontay Johnson. They have Chase Claypool, who's in his second year right now. And they also have James Washington, who has been a good receiver throughout his career. So the weapons are there for the Steelers. The big question with the Steelers is their offensive line play. And I think for me, the player that I'm most interested in, and a player that I've loved ever since Seattle drafted him, and I really wish he was able to get on the field more his rookie year, he just had that injury, is Darrell Taylor. He's currently leading the team in sacks with, it's either 4 and 4.5 sacks, can't remember off the top of my head. But he has very limited snaps too, and the rate that he is creating pressure at is really, really insane right now. And I'm super excited to watch him continue to develop. And I think this week against the Steelers, he could have a big week. Another thing that I am interested to see this upcoming week, too, is how much we do use Jamal Adams as a pass rusher. We haven't really used Jamal as much as a pass rusher this year, as we did last year when he broke the single season sack record. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit more design blitzes this upcoming week for Jamal Adams. Oh, Bobby. So, John, going back to Madden a little bit more, too, you've, as I said, I think you had the most iconic play last year with that joke.
The joke sequence.
The joke sequence. But what exactly is your favorite Madden moment from the time you've been playing these past couple of years?
Ooh. I mean, I gotta say one of the belt. Like what I like. When people watching it, obviously they see like I was stoked about it, but like, look, like at the moment, like I was just like. And like,
oh my goodness, Najee Harris is just going off.
Harris. But nah, definitely winning the belt because like it looked like I did it like they have me, but like it like put me in some elite company like people have won a belt ever, so it's like only a couple people have won it, so that just like that has to be my favorite moment. But the joke moment, like you cannot describe that. You cannot if someone ever says that to you and like mind you, playing against joke, someone that barely ever makes mistakes, you would think I'll be lying.
Ooh, Jamal.
And just like the fact it happened in the biggest tournament, my first ever tournament. So
yeah, so that was
my top 2.
That was definitely a crazy moment right there between him and Joke. Joke more of the established players amongst the MCS area. He does actually hold the current record for most MCS live events currently. But John, just talking more about this past tournament, first tournament of the year, what's going through your mind throughout this tournament? Was it kind of like, just going through like game at a time, trying to see like how far you can make a run of this tournament? Or did you think like going into this tournament, like I am one of the best threats to win this entire tournament?
So going into the tournament, I felt like like I said it before, I said it again. I felt like this, like I never felt good at a Madden game ever. Like I know it's Madden 22. There's the shines of it, it's the worst of it, but like I said, I felt like this is the best Madden I've ever played. Like comfortable wise, and just it worked, and just like I stuck to that motive throughout the whole tournament, and I produced what I needed to do.
Gino. That's a laser from Gino. And that is something I will say, going back to the Seahawks here before we do talk more about this past tournament with John, is I was really impressed from Gino this past week, or this past Thursday is what it is now. So I would be very surprised, don't get me wrong, there is an obvious drop-off between Gino and Russ. Russ is one of the best players, to ever play the quarterback position. But I do think with Gino, I don't anticipate, this huge drop-off like so many of these people are anticipating. I think Gino's going to hold his ground, I think, a good comparison to it might be more of like Russ in his rookie years, before Russ was really, that elite player, and just being a little bit more of a game manager. But the thing is, too, at the same time, Gino was making really impressive throws. He had that touchdown pass to DK, at the end of...
It shows some flashes.
Yeah, he had those flashes. of just being, that high drafted player. Because that's the thing is, Geno Smith coming out of college was a pretty high profile player. He's been in the league for a while. Probably to a lot of people has never lived up to expectations. But I would be surprised if there was like a huge miss in the offense, especially because Geno's been in the offense the past couple of years too. But yeah, now going back to John and this past tournament run. Now, when the final 8 of this tournament was decided, what do you think of your path to even being able to make the finals? Because you're seeing in your first game that you do have to play what people might consider, the best player in the MCS now currently in Dreeny.
Yeah, so when I found out I had to play Journey, I was shook a little. I was shook. I won't lie.
Mm-hmm.
But then, when we got once the game leading up, once I was getting my games in to practice, I was like, okay, I'm not even worried.
Mm-hmm.
Then when the game actually happened, so when the game actually happened, I was like, all right, I'm in the game. Forget everything. It's one game. Don't F up, and that's really what happened.
Good tackle.
Ray. But yeah, so and once I got my second pick that game,
mm-hmm.
The pick I'm talking about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That set off everything. I mean, all right, I got something special that I could do this game because picks early in that tournament was rare to see.
Mm-hmm.
Picks in this Madden, it's hard to see. But me getting a couple early in that game, 2 in that game,
mm-hmm.
I knew I was gonna win.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing too. Is right now defensively in Madden, it's very, very difficult to be able to get those consistent stops within the game. And John had a really just an insane play that didn't really. It was in the third quarter when this play happened, and it didn't really seal the game by any means. But having a play like that is just that's just when you feel okay, this game is it's right there for me, it's in my hands now. And we were playing a player like Dreeny like that. Dreeny, and the thing about Dreeny, but what's always so good about him is that he always feels like he looks in control of the game. Regardless of what's happening in the game, he could be down 7, he could be down 10. It just feels like Dreeny's going to find a way to end up winning this game. But what ended up happening is after that pick that John had, and with how hard it was already to play defense in this game, you just said, wow, Dreeny, he's really on the brink of potentially losing this game. And by the end of the game, you were able to come away with a win there too. Play.
I feel like Deontay's gonna have a big week. He's been consistent for the past 5 weeks, pretty sure. I feel like he's gonna have another big game, or Mabletron, Chase Claypool.
Yeah, so
he's gonna have another big.
We've talked about fantasy football a little bit in here too, and one of the players I actually do have on my fantasy team is Diontae Johnson. If there was ever a week for him to have a bad week, I'd be okay if it was this week. But he has been probably the best receiving option on this team throughout the entirety of the year. For the Steelers, he was out for a couple of weeks there. It was either 1 or 2 weeks. I can't remember off the top of my head, but Diontae Johnson is a really good receiver. He's not a household name like so many of, I would honestly say probably Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, really just because of their influence on TikTok would be a lot more commonly known. But Diontae Johnson, to a lot of people, is probably that best receiving option that the Steelers do currently have. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did have a good game as well. Ooh, Sidney Jones. And then as you guys see right there, Chase Claypool is actually able to get into the end zone. That's really how Chase Claypool is used. Chase Claypool is really the Steelers' red zone target. And then Diontae Johnson really is just kind of that receiver that, that third down target for Big Ben that he likes to go to so much. And the player that I'm excited to watch, I haven't watched a ton of him this year, but the first-round rookie out of Alabama, Najee Harris, has looked really good throughout this year. He's coming off his first 100-yard week this past week, and I would be surprised if they weren't involving him in the pass game a lot this week too. So, John, after you did end up winning the belt, you obviously said that in the moment, you were going through like a lot of emotions, just thinking about, what had happened in the game. You tweeted out a little
Yeah.
bit and everything. When did it really like start to settle in though that you were like the Madden champion, and all these other players that you had seen play, between the Genies, the Kivs, the Skimbos, that now you're being classified as the same as them winning this belt.
Somebody, if you don't know, like tournaments as of right now are at home,
Hmm.
so you once you get that comfortable. So when I seen my mom become serious crying a little,
Hmm.
that's when it really hit it like so like after the interview, it actually kind of hit it.
Hmm.
And like, oh my god, I actually won a tournament that I think I'll never win, and winning that as Ingram, yeah, it's sad. But yeah, so when my mom came upstairs, celebrating, that's when that shit hit in. That oh my god, I'm champion.
Yeah, that's actually something that I didn't even realize until you had mentioned it. The experience of a in-person event in comparison to a live event is just so different. And you've never really been able to experience, these MCS live events. You've gone to those
Right.
underground tournaments before, but just
But
explain what
yeah,
it's like, because, for example, like right now where I'm recording was the exact same spot, I played a tournament final in. And just like, what is it like just being in like literally in your like bedroom and knowing you're playing for a moment like that's going to be sticking for you for the rest of your life?
so like I playing at home. It's just like you play every day in your same room, so like
Hmm.
you're not worrying about like oh so this person's there. I mean like no, you're in the same room. You're playing throughout your whole like you're playing the same house. You've been playing in your house. So the like they're like you're not traveling just to play a game bad game.
Hmm.
Like so just being that comfortable and you're not worrying about the lights, none of that. Like I feel like you get less nerves than like playing here
Hmm.
than if you like traveling to play an actual tournament.
Yeah, so definitely everybody has a different experience with this because I actually feel like I'm the complete opposite. I love traveling for these tournaments. Even myself, I've only probably traveled for, I want to say like 4 or 5 tournaments because I really only played Madden for about a year before COVID and everything really did start to hit. But for me, I was a big fan of traveling for these tournaments. I just felt like there was a different type of like, it just felt like special a lot more in ways than just playing in your room. When you're playing in your room, it's it can I can understand why like to a lot of people it's just a lot less, like a lot less stressful just because you're in the same environment you're
Right.
in every single day. But just going to that like event, having that in person, it's just like that different feeling for me for sure.
Like for me, like I never had something that like to experience that really.
Hmm.
The hopefully I could do it for the last tournament if I well when I qualify.
Yeah.
We'll say
Hmm.
like that. But hopefully for the last tournament, hopefully it is in we could travel so I could like experience just like the moment and just like I just really want. COVID did take a lot of stuff away from us,
Hmm.
so can't get mad at it, but we gotta move on.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of things, when talking to actual NFL players. I've been lucky enough to be able to talk to NFL players in the time that I've been playing Madden. The person I probably talked the most to about it was actually the safety for the Broncos, Justin Simmons. We had an event that we did last year. And when talking to him, he was just completely honest about it. He just said that, like, COVID just sucked. He said that, like, not being able to have fans there, it just being like a dead quiet game, it just being the team there. He just said it was something that, he just had never, like, he said that he had never really experienced, like anything like that, from back in his days at college. And then he said even like his days in high school, that that experience of it just being completely silent, nobody else is there at the game. It really just is the teams, and you might get a couple of like NFL people there too. he just said that experience that he just kind of wished that it was over as soon as possible. And now, you're seeing the NFL being able to get back to the fans and everybody being there. Madden
Yeah.
is a little bit different though right now, I will say. So for anybody that's watching competitive Madden, you might be wondering, okay, when are these events going to be in person again? Essentially, what they have told all of us as competitors is the events through December and then early January, it is all going to be online. There a couple of hurdles they have to climb through to be able to get these persons back, to get these events back in person, excuse me. And they are hoping for the last tournament of the year, the Super Bowl event, though. They are saying that, they would be, as you guys see Deontay Johnson make that big play right there. They are hoping for that last event of the year, that $1 million prize pool tournament, that it is going to be in person. And I will say, I would be very surprised at this point if that tournament didn't end up being an in-person event. But you just never know with COVID. You just kind of have to listen by ear. They'll probably give us more details probably like a month out before the tournament. And, that experience of an in-person event, it just is so, so cool.
Yeah. And that's something I really want to experience, is that one in person. Because who knows? Like, I'm like, after COVID, like, once it's done, who knows if I make another tournament that's held in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I want to like experience it before anything.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing that, like, John just talked about too, is when these tournaments happen, they are just such a, you're never really making a tournament in Madden is like a very difficult thing to do. So, you want to be able to have these opportunities to be able to keep going to these tournaments. And it's not even just that too, a lot of the people within the Madden community are really close. So you get to see, a lot of people that you see, you talk to online on an everyday basis. And, we live so far apart. I'm playing John right now, who lives up in the Boston area. I have a ton of friends that live in Texas, that live in Florida. Friends that, some of them I honestly haven't even seen since 2019, but I talk to every single day. So it's definitely just like that experience of being able to see those people at these events that is just like so, so valuable. Oh.
As Robert Spillane gets to say.
Should probably have been running the ball there a little bit more. So I do have one more question for you, John, that somebody is asking in the chat. Is there, a specific thing that, that you maybe have splurged on to get after, winning this amount of money?
So I just got a puppy.
A puppy, okay. What type of dog is it?
German Shepherd. She's
German
on my
Shepherd,
bed playing.
okay.
She's on my bed playing with it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Probably is where I don't know what it is. But I just got a puppy, and I was like, and I bought my setup. So before the tournament versus the tournament in clubs, I didn't have a PC.
Mm-hmm.
I only had one monitor. I was playing on won't lie to you, I was playing on a coffee table. Like that's how I really got us messed up, and so I bought my whole setup.
Yeah.
Bought a whole setup. Got a puppy. Not a car yet because I don't have my license, but I'm definitely saving one.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna be smart about it.
Jamal, I thought Jamal might be able to get there.
But that's really what I really got. What I splurged on. Yeah. Just got her last Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like a big thing.
Yeah, no, that's actually super, super neat. I actually didn't even know about that too. That is really, really cool. I personally have two dogs. I have a Labrador, and then I have a Golden Retriever. Those are my two dogs, and I love dogs. I am a huge dog person.
Yeah, because with me, my mom be working from home, and me here basically work from home full time, really.
Yeah.
So it was like a no brainer for me to get a puppy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that is something that actually a German Shepherd is probably on in terms of bucket list of dogs I want to have. German Shepherd is one of the dogs I want to have at one point or another in my life. The other dog I really want to get, and I don't know why I want to get this dog. I just think these dogs are so funny. It's a husky. I really like huskies. Whenever I've had friends that have had huskies, I don't know. I know they're very popular.
I really want a Shepsky, the shepherd / husky breed.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Their eyes, I don't know, like it's just their eyes are just like beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Alright. I do think with that, we are gonna pull up the dub here in this game. We are just going to now run it out. I won't do anything foolish and throw a pick here. But yeah, no, I do have a dog. I think a dog is a great thing. And that's actually something that, John talking about that I think it's like just something like within Madden too. And just really when trying to get into like, not even Madden, but any video game, is that you don't really need a ton to start. You're talking to a guy now that is the best Madden player in the world currently. And he was just playing on a coffee table and Xbox a year ago. He didn't have a PC or anything like that or fancy. And you guys are able to see, the transition that he's had in terms of being, one of the best players in the world. So I think that's just something, just don't think you need this ton of stuff to start. You guys, probably see, these like crazy gaming setups now, multiple monitors, all of this. But even for me personally, when I first got into Madden and when I was playing it, I was playing on my couch and I just had like a monitor set up in front of me with an Xbox next to me. And
yeah, so like me, coffee table, I had to like have my Ethernet connected. Have you had an Ethernet?
Yeah.
And like, I didn't have the money to buy like a 50-foot, probably 100-foot, I don't know.
Yeah.
To make it to my room. So now like I had to move. I literally had to move into the living room. Which is kind of weird, but to do it full time, you had to make decisions, and that's really what happened.
Yeah, just whatever it had to do to get that perfect connection. You just had to find a way because that connection was so important. But with that being said, we are at the end here. If you guys do want to check out John on any of his socials, he does stream on Twitch. He's active on Twitter too. Make sure to check him out. He's actually really active on Twitch. He had around like 4,000 subs after the end of the tournament, and he gives a ton of great advice on there too. His links will be down in the description. And if you guys ever want to keep up with me, I never really realized this, but I don't really shout myself out a ton here. But if you guys do ever want to follow me, the links are always in the description here too. I am on YouTube and I am on Twitch and I am also on Twitter. Those are kind of the three main platforms that I use. I will say for both of us though, this upcoming tournament, John is trying to get a lock into this upcoming tournament. I'm trying to have a good deep run in this tournament to just put me in a good position for the rest of the year. So I'm not being crazily active right now, but if you guys do want to follow me, just keep up to date with me. Just make sure to check it out in the description. With that being said though, John, I really do appreciate you being on here today. Great game that we played between the Seahawks and the Steelers too. And I will see you guys all next time.